On Carnival Cruise Lines, there is a loyalty program called the VIFP Club. The more you cruise, the more perks and benefits you get. What level you're at is identified by the card you have, your room key, the sail and sign card. This card is predominantly the color of your loyalty. So if you're on your first cruise, it's blue. If you're on your second, it's red. If you have 25 or more sail days, it's gold. And it goes on from there to platinum and diamond. One thing that I've noticed online is that sometimes there is some vitriol or some discrimination almost around the color that someone has. On the ship, I haven't seen any of that practically at all. People might have their card on a lanyard. I don't personally recommend that, but having your card on you at all times is a good idea. So like if you have a pocket, that's great. Some people put it in with their cell phone case, and so some people use a lanyard, and that's fine. But when you have it in a transparent lanyard and it's visible for everyone to see, you're kind of announcing what your loyalty level is, whether that's your intent or not. I haven't seen that be a problem on the ships. I see a blue card, I know this person is on their first cruise. For one thing, I like seeing the looks on their faces as they're just sort of overwhelmed and amazed by everything. So that's kind of cool, and so it's like I'm vicariously re-experiencing my first cruise from back in 2013 when I see them. You know, if it's red, I realize, okay, this is not their first cruise, it's not their first rodeo. And so if they look lost, if they've got a blue card, I might offer to help them, but I might do that a little differently knowing it's their first cruise than someone who has a red card, where I wouldn't necessarily explain things at such a basic level. And then getting into gold, where you have to have 25 days on the ship or more, you know, again, it's sort of, I understand they have a little bit more experience. And then when they get to levels like platinum, where they have to have 75 days of sailing with Carnival or more, I think, okay, this is an experienced cruiser. So for example, if I am dining with strangers in MDR, which stands for the main dining room, and I happen to notice that somebody has a platinum or diamond card, then I might be more likely to say like, hey, what's your favorite port? What's your favorite ship? Tell me about your favorite cruising experience. And if I see a blue card, I might approach it a little differently and say like, hey, how are you enjoying your first cruise? Like, what's been surprising? Do you have any questions? Things like that. And I find, generally speaking, at least in terms of how people present themselves on the ships, is that's sort of how it tends to go in real life face-to-face interactions. I don't see people shaming people for being a blue card or walking around saying like, you know, oh, I'm diamond, so, you know, get out of my way. I don't see that. That has, in my 24 cruises, that's never manifested itself. And so, I mean, people might make a comment or something, like if somebody's trying to pay with cash at a bar or a credit card, but we see that they've got a blue card, we're like, oh, you know, blue card, they maybe don't know how the card works. And if you don't know how that card works, we've got a tutorial here on this channel that'll show you all about it. So that's the real world, but then there's the internet and how people behave on the internet, and that is not as good, unfortunately. I mean, not all people, but we have a group on Facebook, the VIFP members group, and you can join. It's a great community. People share their pictures and video from cruises. They share their complaints, but also their amazing stories of fantastic vacations. People ask questions and get information. They ask for recommendations, and people are happy to recommend or, you know, tell people what to avoid. It's a great place to get tips and tricks on top of this channel, so feel free to go join that community. It's fantastic. But every now and then, we will see someone maybe judging someone for being a blue or a red card, sort of putting them down, you know, because maybe the inexperience. And so they just kind of think that this person has less knowledge, and I don't know that that's totally fair. I kind of get where it's coming from. But at the same time, you can take two different people and put them on the same number of cruises, and one will take every opportunity to learn and try everything new, and someone else might stay in their cabin the whole time. So I don't think that the color of their card is a good way to judge people on the internet or in person. It is a piece of information. Like I said, in person, it might change a little bit about how I answer a question or, you know, how I approach someone. If I wanted to be social, but in terms of like judging, I think that's not good. It's kind of ignorant because you're using one piece of information to judge an entire person, and that is not a good idea. And then the other side of the coin that I sometimes see is that somebody will often mention their loyalty member status as part of a post. So they'll say, I'm a platinum cruiser and this happened to me, I have a question. And that can be taken a couple of different ways. People kind of read things in the voice they choose to. And so it could be, hey, I'm an experienced cruiser, so I kind of know how things work, but I ran into this something that still confuses me. I have 75 days minimum of cruising with Carnival, but I encountered something different, something new, I have a question, and so they might preface something by saying, hey, I'm a platinum cruiser or I'm a diamond cruiser, but I got a question. Or, but this happened. Or possibly as a preface to a story to say, like, look, what happened wasn't because I don't know how cruising works. There might be something like that. It's like, I'm a platinum cruiser, but I made this mistake. Or I found myself in this situation, or somebody, something like that. And so I think that's all fairly innocent, and it's sort of how you read it. So I would really ask people in the group, and just generally on the internet, to read these things in the nicest possible internal voice that you can imagine. And try to think the best. It cuts down on those arguments, those misunderstandings. Or ask questions to find out what they meant. That's okay too. What's sometimes a little tricky is some people take it a little too far, where they seem to imply or believe or suggest whatever that because they're platinum or because they're diamond that they deserve special treatment beyond the perks that are listed. Now if you're saying, I'm a platinum cruiser and there was no priority boarding for me, that's a fair complaint because that is an itemized perk of having that level of loyalty, of having spent that money and that time. So that's kind of fair. But if it's something like the comedy club was completely full and I couldn't get a seat, that has nothing to do with your loyalty program. There's no perk of guaranteed seating at the comedy club. Carnival, if you're listening, that actually might be kind of cool. I would like that. You got to go early. You want to go to the comedy club, go at least 15 minutes early. And depending on the size of the ship and the popularity of the comic, probably a good half hour early is my advice. That's what you need to do to guarantee yourself a seat. Otherwise, you kind of take your chances. And so the fact that you're platinum or red or gold or whatever you might be, diamond, it doesn't entitle you to anything special in that instance. And so it's a little, problematic when people kind of talk like that in a group and they say, I'm a platinum cruiser and I wasn't able to get a seat at the comedy show. And it's like, you're a human being who's cruising and you weren't able to get a seat. It's the same for everybody. Everyone on the ship is a human being who has equal chance at getting a seat on the, at the comedy club. Accessibility needs notwithstanding, because sometimes there's a limited number of accessible seat options. Putting that issue aside. And so people can get kind of contentious, and it's frustrating because we all love cruising. We all love having a good time. We are all fun people to one degree or another, however you define fun. So I think, perhaps we should remember sort of what the limits of the perks are, and that doesn't give us rights to be jerks. Either as saying, hey, because I'm diamond, I deserve everything fantastic all the time, beyond what the itemized perks are, but also that I don't think it's good to judge people in either direction. And I've seen it at all levels where people will say bad things about red cards and blue cards, and so they'll say, oh, platinum people are entitled and diamond, and so there's sometimes a negative impression regardless of the level. It's like you get a different negative impression for each level, and so you're graduating through the negative assumptions people make about you on the internet. That's not a perk. That's not a good thing. These are people. And so it's easy to forget that sometimes on the internet, where it's just a profile picture, and the profile picture might be of a Carnival logo or something. So it's even harder to picture the person behind that. But my request, my ask to everyone is just try to remember that there is a person behind that, and the thing that you're assuming is not necessarily the case. You could be reading it in a way that wasn't intended, and you could be assuming something about the person that could just not be accurate at all. So I guess I'm just asking for peace among all of the VIFP members, whether you're in my Facebook group or whatever. You could be on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or what have you, or in the comment section on this video or other videos that we have out. So thanks for listening to my little rant, coming to my TED Talk, and just kind of a reminder to let's be decent human beings to each other, because on the ship we are. By and large, 99% of the time, if not more, people are decent and kind and friendly and have a sense of humor with each other for the most part. And so let's take that and bring that onto the internet with us when we're talking about these cruises. Let's be consistent for how we are in real life and how we are online. That is a pipe dream that I know will never totally come true, but I can keep asking and keep banging that drum anyways, and hope for the best. So if you found this video interesting, if you agree or if you like it, please do give it a like. That's helpful to us. And also let me know in the comments, have you seen this kind of color shaming going on? Have you seen it in real life? Because I haven't really, other than maybe the occasional snide, oh, there's a blue card. That's about the worst I've seen of it. But what have you seen? I'd be very curious to know. Maybe I've had a lot of really good luck in person. And also on the internet. Like, what are your thoughts about that? Let me know. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't already, check out some of the videos on this channel here. We talk about all those perks. We itemize them so you know what they are. We show you ports. We show you excursions. We give you all sorts of recommendations. We even do hotel reviews. So that can be useful for other kinds of travel. We go to Vegas sometimes, for example. So check that all out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.